Welcome to the podcast that buffs your Hearthstone game. This is Velen's Chosen.
Not all who wander are lost.
Greetings, damn it. Whether you think you're a good Hearthstone player, or just salty at the meta, or you think you're a deck building visionary, or you're just beside yourself because there won't be a tournament mode, or you just hate winning first place, we got a show for you.
Oh my gosh.
All
right, guys.
Greetings,
We'll see you
everybody.
next week.
Bye. That's the show, kids. That's it. We're done.
All right,
So,
let's go on a lunch break.
We're on lunch, kids. We're out to lunch, so to speak,
Oh
proverbial
my
speaking.
gosh.
Okay.
You guys,
Oh,
I
man.
hurt in my heart after that, whatever that was. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. I'm not sorry at the same time.
It's a sorry, not sorry. Sorry for being bad.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah,
Well, guys, this
so
is episode 156, and welcome to Damage Control. Please bring all of your broken things and expect them not to get fixed. Oh,
I don't know.
this is what happens when Eves goes, I can't show this week, and Grant and I are like, okay, what can we do to make the show crazy?
You know, I've heard said that, you know, women act as a preserve and influence on the world.
Yes.
I think it extends to
We
even
like to
cat
use the term
podcasts.
salty in a negative sense, but Eve tends to be the salt of the earth when it comes to this show.
in the positive sense.
In the positive sense, yeah. Like sprinkling her influence and making sure that this show remains tame in a relative way.
Yes. It's not a boys'
Oh,
club all the
gosh.
time.
This is definitely not a boys' club, let me tell you. All right.
Ja.
Sponsoring this meme machine this week is your friend and mine, Jamie Pseudoping S. This guy is better than a meme machine. He supports us whether we want to do this or we want to talk super strategy or talk cards. Jamie's been with us for a long time, and we really appreciate his efforts. If you want to support us, we're on twitch.tv/Velen's Chosen Podcast. You can support us on there with your Twitch Prime. You can give us those sweet Twitch Primes every month.
Prime.
But you have to do it manually, and that's how Twitch Prime works. So I don't need to belabor the point. You probably watched other people plug their crap all the time. You can also
They're crap.
You can also
I like
buy
it.
our merch, which is quite nice, I might say. It's the same company that I use for Omniclab, but people just don't like buying merch for podcasts.
Why bother, right?
Why bother? Don't buy my crap. It looks terrible. Although the coffee mugs are quite nice. I
think it looks all right.
I think it looks okay.
Looks all right.
Yeah. I mean, actually, let's see. You can see a nice little Omniclab one over here, and I don't have my Velen's one because I use it at work. So it's at work. It's nice.
Nice.
Yeah, but this
I
week
can
we're
see
going to
it
talk
right
about
there.
what news we got this week in Hearthstone. And honestly, Grant, why don't you let the people know why we're doing it this way this week?
Well, you know, Rob and I are both podcast listeners as well as content creators, and I have my hats off to some of our content creating friends who have been very measured in their responses, and I appreciate that, and thoughtful about, you know, why some of the
And
Blizzard
thoughtful in their
announcements
criticisms.
and thoughtful in their criticisms. And not to say that we're not going to go that route to a point, but we just thought
Right.
we'd kind of meme it up a little bit and try to lighten the mood because in my experience, it seems like the community has become rather dour and I'm gonna say suspicious lately in a way that I don't remember this happening very often. People say, "Oh, it was just like this during Shaman Stone a couple years ago," but I think that people are worse now than they were then. It might just be confirmation bias. I don't know, but um And it seems like there's just been some when one thing goes wrong, it seems like everything goes wrong, or
Yeah.
doesn't. When one bad announcement's made, it seems like we can find fault in everything else. So,
Right.
uh, we're typically the positive people and the happy people. But we're gonna put a little bit of twist on it today.
Yeah.
Let's let the salt flow, a little bit.
feel you.
And we were joking before the show about those two. I can't remember their names. The two Muppets, the two old guys that would always sit in the balcony and comment sarcastically about everything and laugh, and shake their heads, when they do it. So if you hear that, that's we're
That's
channeling those guys
yes,
today.
that's the
You know,
Muppets.
yeah.
We decided to
So
call the show something more relevant with regards to Hearthstone than the Muppets because of copyright. So that's always good. Good. Let's talk about Hearthstone news, shall we?
So you know what salt is good for? It's good for thawing ice, and ice is the theme for this week's Tavern Brawl with Death Knight duels. And it's kind of cool. It basically is you pick a class
Mhm.
and you duel, and you get the Death Knight portrait or hero and their power and everything right off the bat. Immediately, you see how OP some Death Knights are over others. I foolishly was like, all right, Gul'dan's good Death Knight, because 3 health and attack anywhere I want all the time. And I immediately queued into Jaina and got destroyed. I'm like, oh dang, Jaina turn 1 is OP because you can just get water elementals
Oh,
on
here's lifesteal for the rest of the game. Sorry, chap.
yeah, who needs lifesteal on with your hero power when I can put a water elemental and have lifesteal,
Yeah, exactly.
And then Uther is also OP because he gets a weapon, a 5/5 a 5/3 lifesteal weapon right off the bat.
And
Plus, he can start
inevitability.
and inevitability. So if you don't, tamp down those pesky Death Knights he summons, you're gonna lose, sucker. So I mean, it's like, woo. I mean, and so here's where the salty part comes in. It's the good and the bad. Is that it's the event that just happened or that's currently happening while we're recording is the Frozen Days of the Frozen Throne event.
Mm.
You log in, bada boom, bada bing, you get a free golden happy ghoul, which is cool. 100 dust, nice. If you don't like golden cards like me, and if you play 40 Frozen Throne expansion cards, they give you 300 gold. That's really
Nice-oo.
cool. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I can do this because Frozen Throne cards are very common in decks, and if you're grinding ladder, you can do it within not too many games.
Yeah.
But then when you win that one, I didn't know this. All of a sudden, it's like 300 for winning this week's Tavern Brawl 5 times. Oh, winning a Tavern Brawl once is sometimes a chore, but 5 times,
Time
especially
to make
when
friends.
especially when there's a meta, like some classes are OP or not. Like I just kind of experimented. I was like, all right, let's see what Druid's like on turn 1. Sucks with no battle cry. It sucks. Let's see
Rexar's
what
real bad.
let's see what Rexar's real bad because all the beasts you get are expensive, And I was like, let's see what Valera's like. And I quit on turn 2. I'm like, no, this is bad. This is terrible.
I can copy none of my cards because I can't play any.
And part of the reason I quit is because I accidentally put the minion out and then I played the coin, and so it copied the coin because I wasn't paying attention. So I had a copy of a coin. I played it. It was like coin again, concede. Our friends over at Coin Concede would be very happy because I
coined twice.
Concede. I coined twice. So
And the second one wasn't a counterfeit coin.
it wasn't. It was a legit, like misty, like ghosty coin.
Yeah.
So
let me tell you about my ghosty coins.
I got all the ghosty coins. It's like a fake kind of currency. Anyways, so
Oh gosh.
yeah, I'm trying to overbalance the game because
Yeah.
that's what the coin's supposed to do. Anyways, but that was
That's Tavern Brawl.
That's the Tavern Brawl, and it was. I liked the idea a lot. I liked the idea of starting a game with a Death Knight hero. The problem is it creates its own meta immediately. And it was unfortunate. You could really tell who was not a veteran Hearthstone player and who wasn't, because I was watching games or playing games and watching my students play games because I was out on the road today.
Sure.
We were playing. I was watching them play Tavern Brawl, and they were playing against people who were not utilizing their Jaina Death Knight power. Like there was
the hero power,
minions with 1 health and not shooting them and not creating water elementals. And it was like, how do you not know this? I mean, and that those people are like
the best
ultra
2-mana
casuals.
minion you could ever get.
Right. I know, right? So it was just interesting to see how people just didn't always understand what to do. it also made me kind of reevaluate some of the design concept around some of those Death Knights. Like, for example, Malfurion turn 7 is way better than Malfurion turn 1, as odd as that sounds, because you get the battle cry, and that's important. Um, Gul'dan turn 10 is way better than Gul'dan turn 1 without the battle cry. So it's pretty interesting to see it in kind of a completely different light that you could never really
Yeah,
see it in
they're definitely
viably.
not card designed for this tavern brawl. They're card designed for actual ladder play.
Yep. Therefore, let us move over to the next part of the news. So the Blizzard put a blue post out, and this blue post. Now I know we're a little Johnny come lately on this.
Blizzard put a blue post out for Hearthstone.
You see, you caught me at unawares there. Blues.
Oh my gosh, the fact that we never get news and then it's this.
Yeah, we go for weeks without news, and Rob, Grant, and Eve are like racking their brains for legitimate, actual, interesting show concepts, and they're like, "Hang on a sec, guys, hold my beer. We got your news for you." So, and boy, was it a doozy. And everybody in our community that creates content has been rather nice. Although I haven't listened to all the shows, so I'm sure that not everybody's been as nice as I am. Hopefully thinking of them. But so, point number 1, and I'm just going to kind of read it the way Hearthstone puts it because I think it's funny.
Oh, yeah.
They put it, Blizzard is currently happy with the meta, period. Understatement of the year. The community goes, what? Double take? What the heck? But they're keeping their eyes on Giggling Inventor. So in the blue post, they're like, yeah, we don't think Giggling Inventor, it's clearly a strong card. We want to have, reasonable, cheap taunts that do good stuff in the meta. But if you've played against a Quest Rogue more than once in any kind of session, you hate Giggling Inventor with a holy fire. I mean, you just...
You know what's funny is
what?
Giggling Inventor's laughing at us for how strong it is. And then Blizzard's like, it's kind of cute, right? Right? And then like the community just goes, I
quit the game. Oh,
it's like the hysterical laughter into like crippling depression in like a second.
Yeah, I was giggling when I won the one time I had it, but then I played like 5 Quest Rogues in a row. And my soul is crushed. What's the high schools are always like crippling depression. It's like, that's the reaction to everything. How was your day? Crippling depression. Well, I won first place. Crippling depression. You know what I mean? It's just
I'm sick of losing.
So Giggling Inventor, it's like, you know what, guys? No kidding. And I can't help but wonder like whose data they're looking at. If they're looking at top end player data or if they're looking at like the data across the board.
Yeah.
I kind of think that who cares if the card's balanced or not? I think it's just like, get rid of the card, do something to it just to change things up. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion. At this
I'll
point.
read what they have verbatim so that we don't just indefinitely spiral to the meme machine. This one says cards to watch. Giggling Inventor is hugely popular and shows up in a lot of decks. Well, I also have brown hair and blue eyes, and I'm from America. We intended from... Sorry, that was way saltier than it should have been. But for the satire, we intended for Giggling Inventor to be powerful because we found that having powerful neutral taunt minions tends to make games more interesting.
Yeah.
We've seen that with cards like Sudge Belcher and Tar Creeper in the past, cards that fulfill this role need to be strong to get the job done. But there's a line in which they may be too good. Enter King Julian. We aren't planning any changes to Giggling Inventor for now, but we're keeping an eye on it in the meantime. We'd love to know what you think. We'd love to know what you think. What have we been telling you since the expansion launched before we even got to play the card once the card was busted?
Right.
And in a community that everyone is generally wrong, everyone was right about this card. Everyone.
That's true. And everybody called it a mile away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, heck, I said that it was like a call to arms, but it was like just a 5-drop call to arms with Divine Shield minions that are guaranteed. That's
and no
even
deck
better,
building
right?
restriction.
And no deck building restriction. And I thought it was good then, and it's like, no, it's actually, and they nerfed call to arms, and I thought to myself, this is This
But that
card's
took a while too,
really too
to be
good.
fair.
Yeah, it did. It really did. But I mean, it's kind of a it sort of they're kind of not responding with any kind of action. It's very passive. It's like, well, we don't really know what our decision is, so we're gonna say we're working on it. We're collecting data. It's a very political
Yeah.
type of response. As somebody who deals with politicians in like schools and stuff like that, it's
Also,
very
quick shout
political.
out
It's
to
unfortunate.
StarCraft 2 Forever donating 100 bits on Twitch during the live show. Thanks so much.
Sweet.
If you guys are doing
Thanks,
that, we'll
man.
shout you out on the live show if we can. Also, I wanted to make sure that we didn't highlight particularly too much of what Hearthpwn said, but use the direct message that we got from Blizzard, which is the punchline is overall we're happy with the excellent diversity of decks we're seeing at all levels of ranked play. Not that they are happy with the state of the meta, even though the label says the state of the meta, and then it says we've seen the meta start to stabilize. Decks of blah, 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 blah have been top performers. These decks stand out slightly, but there are effective decks from every class. Evolved Shaman, Combo Priest, both seeing success, for example. But they're happy with the excellent diversity of decks they're seeing at all levels of ranked play. So with Blizzard, everything is like a code that needs to be decrypted. Yeah. So for me, being somebody that feels like, for whatever reason, Blizzard is like, y'all community figures need to figure out our language and then figure out how to interpret it instead of just telling you straight up like what we're not saying and what we are saying.
Do the other games do that? I don't think Overwatch and Heroes do that. Do they do that?
Yeah.
Do they play
Overwatch
that
is like
double speak?
The thing about Overwatch that's a little bit more difficult for a lot of players to think of, because everyone kind of like, I guess you would say everyone puts Overwatch on a pedestal because the developers are kind of hitting this standard where if there's a major news update, there's a video, Kaplan's on it, he's talking about it, you get a highly detailed blue post. If the blue post isn't detailed enough, you get another post on the subreddit with videos or something like that, and it's all through their system, which is true, and it's good communication. All right. The difference is there's generally their reasons aren't really like, their reasons for like putting something isn't like what we asked for, or isn't something that people even said was on their radar whatsoever.
Right.
And they're giving us solutions for problems that aren't there yet. You know what I mean? Like that's something that Overwatch kind of gets. And we just like, it's fresh in my mind because we just did a PTR and patch update episode without a guest this week with Andres. So next week we're going to be talking about Ana with a good friend. But anyways, if you go back to Hearthstone, the reason that their system is getting a lot bigger kickback is because people are giving them like really good reasons, really salty ones, but like at large, I think every community has, you know, the pocket of the salt mines, and then you have the pocket of the players like Frodan who are like, guys, this is really bad. You know what I mean? Or this is not really bad. This is just like, this doesn't feel fun, which is almost like the difference of saying like your dad's like, I'm angry at you versus I'm just really disappointed. I'm not upset, but I'm just really disappointed. That's like if Frodan says your game's like has problems, that's what I feel like. You know what I mean? Like Kibler's like, I'm going to be transparent with you. I'm going to tell you what's going on, what's wrong, what's right, things that I like, things that I think that people are overreacting about. It's very analytical. But like if Frodan tells you, it's like your best friend coming up to you at the coffee shop. It's like, I don't think this is a good idea. And you're like, ooh, that hurts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, but I guess we could probably talk about something else just to like comment about, because we can comment about the variety of things that are annoying. Let's lump all the bad things in, Rob. How shall we do that?
Okay.
And
we
then
also
we'll
have
lump
a
the good
tweet
things
from
in.
Peter Whalen that just got linked in the chat. We'll probably read this string live afterwards. Thanks for StarCraft.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is that they and you all know this by now, likely, but if you don't, they decided to put they decided to table tournament mode. And it sounds like from what I interpreted, that they're trying to please too many masters. Like they're saying, we want to know what you think, kind of that same thing, but we want to make it something that we think people should like. And the pro players and the people who actually grind tournaments are like, no, this is what we want. They've kind of stated it pretty clearly, in my opinion.
And
But
remember,
Blizzard's saying that's
time out,
all.
quick moment here. Blizzard is not saying tournament mode. Blizzard never said tournament mode. In fact, they're trying to restrict players from even labeling it as such. They're saying
This is true.
it's earlier this year we talked about adding a feature to Hearthstone that would make it easier to organize tournaments for fireside gatherings and private events. That's the language they're using at the top of this. So continue, Greg. I just wanted to make sure we had a disclaimer there.
Good call. And I when that was made, my Twitter feed basically just looked like a bunch of people saying, "All right, I think I'm done. I think I quit." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me, like
we didn't even have a timeline, guys.
there was no timeline. I guess I'm not. I know I don't understand this in the full. So I mean, community, you don't have to at me and tell me why I need to think the way I need to think. But from a standpoint of view, is the game just dangling by a thread in your mind? If that's the straw that breaks the camel's back, then why are you playing the game to start with? I'll be honest. I mean,
how many times do people that still play the game say that?
They say it all the time. I get. Yeah. It becomes a little bit of crying wolf to a point, because if the same people just are constantly like, if my demands aren't met, then I quit. Well, who cares? You can't hold a company hostage. There's no person in the Hearthstone community or sphere that can hold it hostage. Now, the community at large could, but how could you gauge that or measure it if people are serious about that? You know what I mean?
That's something that could be an exit point from a company standpoint, right? You're a game developer, you're a game marketer, you're a corporation that makes a product that has a service that is tied to it that has exit points. That's how business works. So if you have people leaving and not returning, you have they have metrics for this. But the thing about the game is, the thing about games in general, let's put it this way, there isn't anything in Blizzard games where you leave and your exit point tells Blizzard why. Have you guys noticed that? And it's like, this is just something in general for games. So what do they have to work with? The vocal minority. Because you could have something that just is like, this is making a lot of people upset, but for me, if I have an exit point, it could be something completely different and you just wouldn't know, and you just be like, poof, 5,000 players are gone. Why? Why did they leave?
Right. It could be any number of reasons.
Yeah.
And you can probably never know those. Well, I had an interesting thought, with all this stuff swirling around, and and those of us who are very close to the situation see it, and sometimes it just seems like it's, the sky is falling, and I don't think a lot of people think that, but I think, like you said, there's a vocal minority that can paint it that way.
Sure.
I told you, I was at a school function today, and we have a lot of sitting around, and my students were playing Hearthstone, and I heard one of them say, "Man, I haven't played Hearthstone in months." And I said, "Why?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm just playing other things. When I'm at home, I want to play the games on my console. And now I'm on the bus and I have nothing else to have my phone, so I'm going to play Hearthstone." And then this other comments were like, "Man, this game's really fun." So, you know what I mean? Like, those are reasons that have nothing to do with the meta. Not playing for months has nothing to do with the quality of the game or the perceived quality of the game or the features of the add-ons. It's just people do other things, and they're not everybody's as entrenched as others are. And those of us who are entrenched need to, we feel some,
or play the game,
listen to podcasts, or and it's cool if you don't. It's fine if you don't play the game, And I think that for us in the community to get a little bit bent out of shape because they just decide, well, we're not going to put out a bad product. Honestly, I think what the community totally missed was like, you know what, Blizzard, thank you for not wanting to subject us to something that you think is second rate. You know what I mean? You
got to give them at least some credit, even if something sucks and really is not good. Yeah. At least internally, they have this process where they believe that this is good before they give it to you, and not just good, but like this has met the highest of internal preparation and polish before we see it. With regards to Hearthstone, especially outside of their other games, there's no such thing as a PTR with a card game.
Yeah.
So we don't
Yeah.
get to see testing. It's just like you get it,
Mhm.
So anyways, I don't know if we want to circle back on this, but let me just like go back and see what we got here. There's a Nicholas Deck Tech Weiss, I think it's Weiss, posted something from I can't even read this. This is really long. It's a 5,200 word essay thing. He said basically like, I finally finished my thoughts on yesterday's announcement, aka the one we're talking about. In classic Deck Tech form, I kept it to a concise 1,500 words, or sorry, 5,200 words. I'm sure you guys are inundated, but in case anyone wants more feedback, he tagged Hearthstone, Wayland, Ixar, and Kosak. Ixar says, at first I thought Mark Rosewater wrote this because of the thumbnail and was very confused. I will give it a read tonight. So that's typical Ixar. Great response. Wayland says, I did read it, though, and there are some good stuff in here, particularly on how to give feedback. I don't agree with everything, but it's well presented, and I'm glad I read it. Jesse Alexander HS, which I do not believe is a leading famous Hearthstone player, even though he's self-acclaimed with the 341 followers on Twitch or on Twitter. But he says, to improve the quality of feedback, help us help you. Some kind of template system for funneling people's feedback into directions you can handle. Card that causes issues. What about it feels bad? What about it feels good? Like that. We don't know your limitations or needs now. In which case, before I even read Wayland's response, that's what the Blue Post forums are for. That is the location. The problem is that everyone wants to go through
social media,
their own medium that works for them. Twitter, Reddit, and Facebook, and anything else that they're trying to do is just what you want. And that's something that we talked in the past, Grant, didn't we not? About how Blizzard is so shoehorned into their forums to receive feedback directly.
Well, and if you think about it, that makes sense. Like, think of it this way. If I have a Microsoft product and I have an issue with my Microsoft product, I don't go to Twitter to talk to Microsoft people. I go and I call Microsoft and say, hey, yo, your Windows blue screen showing up a little too often, man. And they say, well, how can we help you? Blizzard is just saying, well, okay, look, you have a problem with what we're doing. You have to go to our company website and tell us there, and we'll get it. And we'll try to do something. Yeah, they have
like a system to archive and hold them, and
sure.
Yeah, and like they can bar negative feedback, but the problem isn't that they can bar it. The problem is that if you get barred, you go to Twitter and go whine. If you want to go whine, you go to Twitter. You want to give them good feedback, you can do Twitter, but it's not as direct. And they're like, hey, this is a great idea. Why don't you put it in our forum so we can actually have a record of this? That's kind of what they're asking you to do.
Well, heck, I had this experience just the other day. I was playing Overwatch, and I got super inspired from Rob's excellent episode about, going deep on Brigitte. And I was like, I'm going to play some Brigitte. And I used the tools that I had, and I like crushed people, and I was having a good time, except for one thing. There's this weird thing that when I would go from third person to first person, I'd come out a third person view, and I'd be facing the opposite direction. Of course, then I'd get sniped, and it was really awful. Weird thing. And I'm talking to the guys on my team like, hey, you guys having this problem? And one guy's like, oh, yeah, I've heard of that. So what I do, I searched it online, and sure enough, there's a blue post dealing with it, and I just chimed in like, hey, what to do? And the blue post says, yeah, it happens at random. We're working on it. You know what I mean?
It's a known bug issue type thing.
It's a known thing that has happened to people, and they haven't there's no solution yet. So just tough it out. But that's what I had to do. Do you think I realized that the community was oddly reticent, at least in like the teams I was on. They hadn't anything to say. And I didn't go to Twitter and be like, Blizzard, Brigitte's not working. You need to fix it. Gosh, go get my inner Napoleon Dynamite out on them, via a Twitter post. So
yeah. So to conclude, Peter Wayland said, I don't really think we need to go that far. It's more things like extreme hyperbole and personal attacks make me less likely to take your feedback seriously. Devs are people. We love our game. And we are a community. We love our game and our community. Treat us with a little respect, and we're more likely to listen. And it's true. This is true with literally anything. Like,
true.
I just can't express this. Like, for whatever reason, people in video game communities, this is not exclusive to Hearthstone, even though you may feel that way because this is the game you're currently inundated with.
Right.
But looking at League of Legends, Heroes of the Storm, I've read some forum posts about my associate brethren, shaman friends in World of Warcraft right now. Shamans have 3 talent specs that you can play. Enhancement for melee damage, Elemental for ranged spellcasting damage, or Restoration for healing. All 3 of the specs right now are in the the damage is within the bottom 5 of how much you can do at the same level of item. So like if you, Grant, are playing, I don't know, let's say you're playing a rogue, does damage, right? And I'm playing a shaman that does damage. And you and I have the same level of gear, which means like the same capabilities of gear, everything equated equal. We've all maxed and min-maxed our stats. We go into a raid. Your numbers are almost 1.5 times better than mine on paper before I go into the raid.
How inequitable. That's not equitable at all.
And then you go into the healers and they do the same thing. And again, you have this things called utility, which means you're not min-maxing like healing somebody up. It's more of like I'm trying to maintain a group rather than like one target. So even given that thing, your numbers are significantly lower. And so because of this, people are getting super upset that they have to wait until the next major patch update before they can even play their hero or play their character class and do something that feels impactful. And so that's similar in Hearthstone where people are like, I can't win any games outside of this weird win rate because I can't play the deck with Giggling Inventor well enough, or there's just too much diversity, I can't predict anything, blah, 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 like whatever excuse it is. And so what people do in the forums and all of these things is they just attack people. They have these extreme hyperbole. It says, you guys don't know what the heck you're doing, even though you've been making this game for how long now? How big is your team? Small indie company, Omega Lol. Like, that's just like, it's so easy to insult people, but it's not easy to make the game. And I'm not trying to be a Blizzard apologist here. I'm literally saying, you are saying words to people that people like read or listen to.
Yeah.
And when you say something in a specific frame that is intended to hurt, you are either callousing somebody to the point that they don't want to listen to you anymore, at the very least, or at the very worst, you're like verbally harassing them and you probably deserve to be punished in some way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't approach problem solving with a seek and destroy mentality. You know
and I don't
mean?
know what culture this is. This happens in like, this is weird, but this is like not just Americans and not just EU English people. Like I've read some pretty nasty things from Korean players talking about even just player trades within Overwatch League, or Japanese players like attacking each other. Like it happens in all cultures. People are just like vicious when it comes to video games because you have the wall of anonymous nature of your screen name. And I mean, if you say something negative on the forums, they can block it, they can shut it down, they can ban your account because it's linked to your name. But if you say something on Twitter, you're free. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, it's true.
Until Twitter's devs get a hold of you.
the two families, the Twitter family and the Blizzard family, they get together and they say, all right, who are we going to whack? You know?
So how many people are they actually listening to is the real question. After something like this happens and there's a bunch of negative feedback, what's the good negative feedback? What's the not negative but constructive aspect?
Yeah, because feedback can be negative and constructive at the same time. You know, you can. Is the idea just to flame throw everything and burn everything in the ground, or is the idea to try and build? You know, these are my criticisms. How can we make it better?
And I'm glad Peter said that, Grant, because like, is it Blizzard's responsibility to teach people how to give feedback properly?
It's not. It's interesting that we've reached this stage in culture. I think what we have here is a cultural dilemma, and I know this is not a philosophy show, and I'm not a philosopher, but if I had to take a stab at it, what we're realizing is we're reaching the culmination of lack of instruction and teaching from a generation has missed the boat to where people feel it's their right to behave this way in a large enough group to where it's acceptable to, like, for example, it's multicultural across the planet. And I think the anonymity aspect of where, well, you don't really know me, my Twitter account, like, people who follow me aren't people I know in real life and stuff like that. And so I just can act and behave however I want. Or this is my persona. That's the other thing, right? This
Yeah.
is my online persona. It's not who I really am. So, but I got to act this way. It's just so, to either get views or to get follows or, like people will post a flaming something or other on Reddit and it'll get upvoted, even though it's demonstrably false, or demonstrably in bad taste or something like that, but it still gets a lot of upvotes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's that. And I just, I see stuff like this in the real world a little bit in my job, but
Okay. Yeah.
it's just something we just have to. It is what it is. It's where we're at, and you know, you in a. Let's put it this way: I'm a teacher. Parent comes in, kicking the door down and telling me everything I did wrong and what I'm going to do for them because they think I owe it to them, and that I'm just going to sit there calmly and just go deaf to them. You know what I mean? I'll be polite and I'll nod and take notes on what they say in case it ever comes up in another meeting with an administrator, and then I'll let the door hit them on the butt on the way out, and that's that. That's it. I'm not going to listen to them. You can't play terrorist. Nobody gets to be a terrorist when it's stuff like this or school
And it
or
gets
whatever.
even,
You know what I mean?
it's like the speed in which you tune somebody out goes up when their feedback is A, unhelpful,
Mm-hmm.
B, irrelevant. I deserve
Mhm.
a 56% win rate in all contexts, whatever deck I want, and I never want to see this card again. It's like, excuse me for making a game with a card that we poured over. The fact that they have Giggling Inventor doesn't mean that they are not looking at it. Like, they at least said that they were looking at it. The thing is that they're cryptic in what they're thinking about doing with it.
Right.
And they're cryptic about what they... Like, the fact that we have to read this in like it's an epistle of, like, understanding, like, what it is that they're saying. Is like, we're not
mystic
planning on doing
saying.
something. We're keeping an eye on it. And we'd like to know what you think. And the fact is, like, the weird thing in the developers is, like, we'd like to know what you think about something that you guys are whining about currently. Is
Right.
like, it's almost like a trigger phrase for certain people. It's like, you want to know what I think?
Know what I think?
Yeah.
It's
So anyways.
anyways, but I mean, there's in this, and it kind of got underplayed a lot because of the perceived level of badness surrounding what we've been talking about, Giggling Inventor, and
Yeah.
the abolishment of tournament mode or whatever mode it actually is going to be.
Yeah.
There's some interesting things that have come out. I think the thing that I am the most excited about is the new ranks that are being added from new players only. They're adding a rank 50 through 26 that has never existed before, and it's a rank where these ranks you can't lose stars, so it's completely 100% progressional. And they haven't told what. They said that there'll be some good rewards to win on the way, so new people can play without getting trounced by meta decks, without getting trounced by people with full collections. They can win games based on skill and their meager card collections, and they can acquire some resources for their collection. And I thought that was a really interesting and I would say inventive way to solve that problem. And I'm anxious to see how it works out. I almost thought about creating a new account just purely so I could experience that. You know what I mean? Because my kids' accounts are all they're all at like rank 20 something, and they have legendaries in their collections and stuff like that. But I almost thought about creating a new account just so I could just go through that, just to know what it's like. Maybe we'll do that, just kind of as a newbie mode. So also Fireside Gatherings going to have some more brawls to choose from. They have certain specific brawls for them. They're going to offer some more, so that's cool for people who are hosting Fireside Gatherings. I'm going to try and hit some. If anybody in Houston knows of any during the last half of October, I will be batching because my wife's out of town. So I'm going to go
Nice.
get myself some Nimsy and just see if I can just make an appearance at some gatherings. They're bringing back the Welcome Bundle. It's returning. But instead of giving you a class legendary, they're going to offer one of the free legendary you get is one of the 6 classic dragon legendaries.
Dragon aspects
which is
for you lore guys.
the dragon aspects. Yeah. So let's see, Rob. Let's tick them off. Deathwing, the first
Earth.
Deathwing, the one that Earth, Nor's Domu, which is time, right? Ysera, which is the Emerald Dream.
Yep.
Right. Malagos, which is magic.
Magic
Let's
power.
see here.
Yeah.
Magic power, and let's see, I know I'm forgetting some. Onyxia, which is she's really
Daughter
the
of
daughter of
Deathwing.
Deathwing.
Yep.
And Ysera, which is life, right? And death.
We already said
technically, right?
Ysera.
Not this
You
year.
mean Alex
Alexstrasza. That's what I meant, Alexstrasza.
Life Binder.
So now what I don't know, and maybe you can help me with this, Rob. If, like, for me, the only one of those cards I'm missing is Nostormo. I don't have Nostormo, as odd as it is to say. I'm not missing Nostormo. I'm not sad that I don't have them, but for the collection completer in me, I want to have them. So if I buy that, will I get Nostormo, or will I get one of the other ones?
They weren't really clear. They say you still get 10 classic card packs at a very low price, but instead of random class legendary, you now get one of the 6. Alex, Death, Mally, Nas, Ani, or Sarah. And if you've purchased a welcome bundle before, you can get it again. So my guess is you're getting a regular version of these.
Right.
So I don't understand, because the last way they worked this with the welcome bundle, you would get a random one whether you had it already or not.
Right.
Because this is before we had the change to card packs, where if you open a legendary, it's one that you don't have.
Was it that long ago already?
That was that long ago.
Dang. Oh, man, my time flies. So, I mean, that's cool. I mean, my guess is that was like $10 before, and that's a deal. Like it was $5, wasn't it? $5? I don't remember. 5 to 10,
I don't
either
remember,
way.
but this is 10 classic packs and a legendary bonus.
Yeah. So, I mean,
So
I
my
think
guess
I
would be
want to
it's
say
10 for 10, which means that it's like significantly less.
Yeah, they
than normal.
they also released this week is like 30 Knights of the Frozen Throne packs for $20, which is also an excellent deal. And I had an interesting discussion in the I kind of like buying Hearthstone cards because there's a certain addiction to just cracking packs. It's just super fun. And I thought about buying some for myself, and then I thought, well, before I pull the trigger on that, maybe I should check my collection. I realized I was only missing like an epic and 2 legendaries. Bolvar, which I used to have a golden Bolvar, but I dusted him because I needed something else that I could actually play with.
Right.
And then Blood Queen Lanethel. And I'm like, man, I mean, do I want to spend $20 just to maybe pull those and just get a pile of dust? It was an interesting conundrum that I found myself in. And it's not something you hear people talk about a lot in terms of content creators. We don't talk about, I buy cards for dust. A lot of people don't really do that,
Yeah, unless you're in Asia, when they have laws now in China and certain areas of the globe where you have to buy dust, and using that dust you can also get a pack as a bonus. It's like getting around the whole laws with gambling and stuff, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so if you want dust and if you just want to start augmenting your collection, and $20 isn't that big of a deal. I mean, I think it's very reasonable. I don't think anybody would think you were just throwing money away.
Right.
In fact, it's probably more actually useful in the long run than, say, maybe like buying a loot box for a skin, because that's just cosmetic. But like, these are cards you eventually could theoretically create cards that you're actually going to use. And if you don't have a big collection, then I think it's a deal you should jump on, because you really don't get the 60-cent per card pack price.
Let's get the train rolling with some exciting other news. We have Hollow's End coming in October 17th. This is when you guys get the new dual crass. It's a very crass arena. You get the class arena returning as dual class, so you can play as Jaina or any of the heroes with a fun little Halloween theme to them, as well as playing with a different hero power than what the class has, but you still get both classes' cards in the arena. In addition to this, you also will have a Hollow's End event in the Tavern Brawl called the Spooktacular Hollow's End, and they're going to toss some more treats in the bag this year and let you know about them as the Headless Horseman's return comes. In addition to this, there is another cool feature coming, which is an update in early November to the classic set of cards. We are getting 2 new mage cards to replace the ones that have rotated out, and a new warlock card and a new rogue card. So I will highlight these without using it on the stream this week because of time restrictions. I had to do a double header today, so I've actually recorded Omnic Lab literally 5 minutes before going into starting this one. And so we have a 2-mana Icicle Epic spell for the classic mage, saying deal 2 damage to a minion. If it's frozen, draw a card. So this is very similar to Shatter, except Shatter says freeze a minion If it's already frozen, destroy it, and it's 2 mana. Icicle says deal 2 damage to a minion. If it's frozen, draw.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a little bit like that Knights of the Frozen Throne 3 mana guy that's 3/4. That it says if there's a minion on the board that's frozen, draw a card.
Right.
I can't remember the name of that card. I normally can tell you, but it's all I know is that his voice line is "It's winter and it's cold." That's like all he says. And then there's also a 1 mana Tome of Intellect common card. 1 mana spell. Add a random mage spell to your hand. And fitting along with the same motif for Warlock, Call of the Void, 1 mana spell common. Add a random demon to your hand. And for Rogue, 1 mana common spell named Pilfer. Add a random card to your hand from your opponent's class.
There you have it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting that they chose to add these little 1 mana or cheap spells. Although Icicle is an epic.
Yeah.
I wonder why they thought it was an epic. Is that good? Is it that good?
Well,
I guess that's pretty
they
good, right?
rotated out Ice Block, so it's replacing that card.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't really do the same as Ice Block. In fact, Ice Block was probably obviously better, but it's 2 damage for 2, and it has to be frozen to draw a card. That's awful specific for, you know what I mean? It's probably just going to be dust in people's collections is probably what it'll do.
Honestly, I feel like that's most of these cards, but they're giving you classic stuff that replaces specific slots that you're missing in your collection,
Which is
commons,
which
and
is the
epics.
first time, right? They've
This is
never
the first
done
time
this
they've
before.
updated the Evergreen set ever.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Which I'd like to
said-
see done in.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'd like to see that done more. Like, I think there's some cards in Wild that would be fun to bring back, even if it was for temporary. You know, like, all right, this season we're going to bring back X cards. If you have them, awesome. Otherwise, you can pull them in packs or craft them. And then, you know, after the season's done, then like this year is over, then they go back to Wild. You know, I think that'd be pretty cool.
If you're curious as to why, it says when designing these cards, we're thinking about new players' first experience playing Hearthstone. They should be relatively straightforward while still creating some exciting moments. They also give players a chance to see and play with cards that they don't own. At the same time, it's important that they aren't so powerful that they limit future design. So there might be your answer, Grant. Or cause problems since they'll be in standard for longer than 2 years. Looking forward, we expect more cards to join the Hall of Fame. There are also some gaps in Classic where neutral legendary cards join the Hall of Fame, so we're considering adding some cards to the Classic set in the future.
Ooh la la. Color me intrigued. So, cool.
And
Well-
let's I'm looking through here. They're talking about wild balance. Grant, did you want to cover that at all?
Yeah, the big hullabaloo about the wild balance thing was, you know, they say they wanted wild balance. If you read anything about, you know, if you I mean, and wild players, you know, if you think about it, it's been my experience that wild players are very reasonable people because everything they do, everything there is just crazy, right? I mean,
They have
the sky is the limit.
huge pools of cards to choose from.
Yeah, and if you are, and I think wild was a great forward-looking way to call it because it is very wild when you go there in terms of like the stuff you can get away with in that format. And I view wild players or people who are serious about it as very thoughtful people. They're not, in my opinion. So my wild friends and standard friends out there, feel free to, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a more of a niche group of people. They're into what they're into. They care about it deeply, and they're thoughtful about it. And they're aware of all the potentiality of what is huge and broken and great and but also fair.
Yeah.
And the big thing was Blizzard, why did you create? We asked you to pay attention to our format, to give us stuff we can work with, but why did you create Juicy Psych Melon? And furthermore, why did you create Juicy Psych Melon with Star Aligner? You know what I mean? It was almost like, how could you have not known what was going to happen here? That the solution is obvious. You know what I mean? Or the result was obvious. And so they're kind of like, you know, they felt from what I've read and heard people say is they're very disenfranchised. You know, it's like you have this format for us to play. You say you're doing stuff for us, and then you create the stuff. You get rid of Naga Sea Witch on the one hand, and you give us Psych Melon with the other. So it's like, what's going on here? You know, now that might be some confirmation bias from people saying, well, you know, it's just, you know, it's always a deck that's just just going to dominate everything. There's always a dominant deck, and Starliner is beatable. But I think that
You
giving
know,
something that is so like linear, like, oh, so this card draws me a 7, 8, and 9 cost minion. I know what I'm playing. I mean, you don't have to be a good deck builder to figure that out. You know what I mean? To take a look at like Azalina and Chogwaggle decks and things
now,
like it.
yeah, I kind of want to piggyback a little bit on this and just keep it rolling, but
Sure.
the way I look at this is that not just like the Wild Balance post, but just in general, their approach to Wild, and then even just their approach to like giving us more information about Hearthstone. This is not me trying to attack them at all,
Mm-hmm.
but to me, the verbiage and the way that they're presenting this to players seems like they're asking us questions and or proposing things that they're thinking about as if they don't play the game at all. And
Ooh,
I
yeah.
know that these guys have, and I won't say thousands. I know that their team is really large, and I know that they all play Hearthstone, and they've said that. But like, why does the approach by which they have to inform us of news, by which they want to ask for feedback, sound like it's just tone deaf?
Sure.
And and by that, I'm just gonna read the Wild post, because this one is like more so than all of it. So to be sure, I feel like this is the main one that's of the offender here. So I'm just going to read it and see what you think, Grant, after I said that. There's been an outgoing discussion within the team regarding how Wild should play. Right now, Wild feels somewhat like Standard, but with an elevated power level and a vast library of cards. No new information, correct?
Right.
Should Wild live up to his name more, where we allow really crazy and powerful combos to happen, even in the early game? Generally, it's harder for any one strategy to be dominant in Wild, since everything is so powerful and everyone has access to so many tools. But do we want those strategies to exist? Do we know that there are players who would prefer to have a mode that offers this kind of gameplay? So they say that there are people who would prefer that. There's also the point to consider that the reason to have multiple modes in Hearthstone is for them to play differently, so that there are downsides to put the reins on Wild too much. But we also recognize that there might be decks like Naga Sea Witch that become too prevalent and simply aren't fun to play against. We'd love to hear your opinions about what you want from Wild. What do you think of how it is now, and what's the role you see for it in the future of Hearthstone? And I don't want to make this like a me and Grant conversation that us agreeing with each other, even though that sometimes happens on the shows, on podcasts. People just kind of get around the same table, they all agree, and then they go their separate ways, because there are definitely more opinions than just me and Grant's and Eve's even. So for me, this just sounds like, it sounds nice. It's like they're kind of like involving you in the decision-making process. It's almost like they're kind of pulling you into forum posts of like based off of a meeting they just had with their top developers. But at the same time, it's just like, this sounds like a bunch of execs that just don't play the game.
It sounds vague. That's what it sounds like. And and
it's a weird dichotomy to put us in, and how we understand this, because we know how much the devs love the game and how much they actually play it like all the time in both modes.
Well,
or all of the modes, I should say.
What I think, and I don't know if anybody's talked about this, and if they have, point me to where. One of the things I would like to see, I think, in Hearthstone, and I think the collections of cards for most people who play the game have now reached a point to where if Blizzard pulled a thing where they make a card and they look at it and go, oh, dang, well, that's not really quite working out the way we would have liked it to, or that's causing some stuff we don't like. I'm kind of the mind where I don't mind them pulling a card. Here's your dust back. Boom. Pull the card. Don't feel like they have to have a card permanently ensconced in the collection of every place. So yeah, it's a wild card. If Juicy Psych Melon is as bad as wild people claim it is in terms of like what it's doing to warp the meta, pull the card. Just pull it. Maybe have make one or two cards to sub in, like, hey, here's some cards we'd like you guys to try, see what you think. And like give people notice, let people get their dust back and stuff, because it's digital media. It's not like they're going to your house and robbing you and taking your collection. You know what I mean? It if you pull a card, if you make a whoops on a card, it's okay to not be infallible. I think maybe sometimes, and I wonder, I guess would be the better word, if maybe Blizzard thinks like, well, we've made it, so it's just kind of out in the ether. We can never take it back. It's like, no, you're the company. If you blow it on a card, just admit it. Say, yeah, community, you know what? Yeah, we should have never released this card. Here's your dust back. We're just gonna pull this out of the collection. Now let's see what happens to the meta and see what happens. And if there's actually something different than we thought, we could either introduce the card back into the meta, or we find where the real problem is. If there is a real problem, like does Giggling Inventor warp the meta the way we think it does? Let's find out. See next season, no Giggling Inventor card, you just can't play it. Because you know how like when they did that Tavern Brawl a couple months ago where they had cards you couldn't put in your deck. Maybe they do that, and Blizzard could throw a bone to people saying like, I know you loved your Giggling Inventor. Here's the dust worth. We're going to put it on hold. We're not even going to take it out. It doesn't cost them anything. And it gives the community a chance to take a step back and remove their confirmation bias. Like, oh, Giggling Inventor losing me the game again. Da, 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 da. It's like, take it out and let's see what takes form,
There's also the
and what
things
does
that
it
they
do?
could do where they just make things legendary and just be like, you know what? There's only one. You can only have one.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's cards that are just like, you have to have both of them. And other times it's like, you should probably only have one because it's an epic card, like Juicy Psych Melon, for example. Yeah, just run one. If it's one, then I agree with you. You need to nerf it or remove it if it's a problem. And if it's a duplicate, then maybe you just like, you know what? This is real strong. This is what Yu-Gi-Oh! Used to do. I'm not saying that they're doing it now, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Was like, yeah, you can have 3 copies of any card you want. Yeah. But if it's this kind of card, you can only have 1. And then if it's this card, you can only have 2 because, boy, that's powerful. And then there's some cards that are like, they're the typical card that comes under fire is Jar of Greed. Jar of Greed like released in like less than, I think, 2 weeks, and people are like, yeah, that's going to be a limited card. You can only have 2 of those. And then, like, over the course of time, they're like, nope, you can only have 1. And then they're like, yeah, this card's broken. We're banning it.
Yeah.
Like, they have, like, this steady process. And I'm not saying that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is even in a healthy state now. I'm just saying that's what they used to do, and this is a process and an approach that you can take. But, again, kind of getting a little far away from the verbiage and how they're approaching this.
Sure.
Like, it's like they are asking us these questions and like trying to be considerate, but at the same time it's like, wait, you guys have all of the data, you have everyone whining at you, you have good constructive feedback, bad attacking feedback that's justifiably ignored, and then you also have literal metrics that you guys have the best resources internally to track. And this is like, I think we just need some more data. It's just like, how much data?
Yeah.
You guys have so much data, and your player base is massive. And you got people that are just geniuses like Chalky and Alec from Golden Wisp, who doesn't do the show anymore because he's working for you guys. Like, I don't even understand how many other people that I just don't know their personalities, and they're working at Blizzard, and they're just as smart as those guys. Like, I want to know whose opinions internally they're ignoring, because that seems like a bigger thing to me. And I don't even want to project that they are ignoring them. I'm just like, what's the holdup? You know what I mean? Like, we have holdups in any society, in any company, in anything. There's always some kind of like process. There's some kind of code, or there's some kind of what's even most frustrating to happen to anything is the bureaucracy that happens within companies and education systems. Grant and I know the most because that's what would directly affects our jobs and our careers. And bureaucracy in Japan is far worse than anything I could have ever imagined. But I don't even need to talk about it because it's just a fact. It happens in every company, whether it's education or business. Like, there's just bureaucracy and politics within companies that happen. And it's the structure, and maybe that's just like, these are the rules by which we operate and nobody knows what they are. And like, these are the rules that are restricting us and we can't talk about it. And maybe that's what it is. And it's frustrating to the community because we don't know what that is. Like, well, we can't change this until we hit this, or we can't change this because if we're going to change a card, then we really don't want to change it again unless it's a classic or a basic card. And then we'll just nerf it to the ground like we did with Warsong Commander.
It's possible that we're just a little overly familiar. Maybe think that like a company like Blizzard, which is like $1 billion company, is just a bunch of bros in a garage, like, when Atari was being made, like just like, hey, go down the street. Hey, I think you should do this. Okay, thanks, man. Like everybody thinks that their voice is equally valid.
Yeah, everyone's a
like
game developer these days, right?
Yeah, didn't you know?
So again, like this is less about me and Grant trying to be entitled, if anything, and just like saying like this is just what's running through our minds as we're reading something like this is less about us being constructive and just like I'm not sure even how much Blizzard even listens to us or even listens to our show at all. I've only heard
If they do at
little
all.
things if they do, but I don't know how involved they are or what they're doing. I know that the people that have communicated to me directly that they've listened to our show at all are not at Blizzard anymore, like our good friend Yongwoo and Ben Brode.
Yeah. Right.
And I feel like there is one big thing that all Blizzard all Blizzard fans have the easiest time about ignoring, which is the time between probably June and November. This is the block of time where any news you get sounds like BS because they're trying to lead the witness and make sure that you're going as far off base as you can, and then BlizzCon.
Yeah.
So you
And then
have
everything's
to
hype
keep
city.
this in mind and keep everything that's in your brain toned way down until November hits. It's like bide your time, sit on your laurels, and wait. And if you're going to be upset, that's probably okay to communicate, but please calm down just a notch and kind of wait it out until November happens. And it's almost like it's critical mass. Like every month after June that we get anything is like just a bonus, even if it's bad. And then as you kind of like keep going and get closer and closer to BlizzCon, they get more and more quiet. So the fact that we had a major thing from Blizzard for World of Warcraft, for Overwatch, and for Hearthstone within this last week is actually pretty amazing to me, even if they're all bad news.
True story.
So I just wanted to we're trying to basically going on both sides of the fence. Like Grant and I are like talking about stuff that we really don't like, stuff that's really kind of upsetting, or things that are kind of like keying us into stuff that's negative. And then we're talking about some things that are good, and then also just trying to kind of bring you back a little bit. So we're kind of just going back and forth on the line this week, and it's kind of hard to, honestly, kind of hard to do.
Yeah, it really is. But that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll survive.
Let's see. I want to see how much time we have left. Yeah, we're right at
One
an
last
hour.
thing is the Sir Anoyatron.
This
last
is really
little bit of interesting.
exciting.
Yeah, Sir, new hero portrait for Paladin, Sir Anoyo. We're not sure how you get it. Some people, there's speculation that you might get it with a special purchase of maybe 20 Witchwood packs or something like that. Not confirmed, but that was the buzz that I had heard.
Available per purchase as part of a special deal is all we know.
Yeah. So we don't know what it is. If they're trying to, squeeze a little bit of juice out of the Frozen Throne packs before the next year, it wouldn't surprise me if they would do the same with kobolds and with Witchwood. So
I could even see this being a
or Ungoro
wild
even maybe
promotion because it has to do with the grand tournament. And everybody wants to run a rubber sword. I mean, come on. This guy is going to be fantastic. But anyways,
yeah, it'll be fun. I'll actually see how annoying it is when you.
Oh yeah, you play this. You run double Giggling Inventor, and you run Anoyotrons, and that's your wild deck of choice for the day.
Yeah,
just all the bots. But Grant, I wanted to kind of circle back and kind of end the show with what you think about the ranked ladder system, because this is kind of like the biggest contention with what people were doing with the update to the new player experience. So here's two things that I want to mention. First, how did the ranks 50 to 26 work? Are these 1-star ranks? Are these 2-star ranks? Are they 5-star ranks?
I believe they're 5-star ranks, and you just don't lose stars.
So they work like rank 25 to 20, but you have more of them.
Yeah, you have more of them, and you never regress. And once you crack 25, you never go back. That's as I
and
understood
just
it.
like ranks 25 to 20, you can't lose stars. But like they don't say for sure that that's how they work. I'm just wanting to highlight that. Less about like what we think is what they're going to be, and just more of like that's not something that's included. Just so you know.
Yeah, and they have all these like little like Mushroom Kingdom like innocuous pictures that go with the ranks.
Yeah, it's a chicken, a flower, a mushroom, an acorn, some kind of weird plant, tree, caterpillar, chrysalis, butterfly, a praying mantis head, a frog, a starfish, a shell, a seahorse, another fish, a whale, a chicken head, a stag head, a lion head, what is this? A freaking mammoth head, a kraken, a murloc, a tuskar or a walrus, a ogre, and the innkeeper.
Yeah.
So
making them think they're rank 1 and all special and all
yeah,
that.
yeah, but these are new player experience, and you can skip these.
You miss some of the rewards though if you do.
Yes. So they said this gives players who are new to Hearthstone a little bit more time to get used to the tavern, and also giving them a few free gifts along the way to help them get them up to speed. If you're an experienced player making an additional account, there will be an option to skip it, but the loot you will skip as well.
Yep.
But there are a few more details coming in the future, but this is the gist. And they don't give us a timeline as to when this is coming, but it is in the works.
Yeah,
and
I like it.
The other side of this is, should this be 5 stars? Do they want players to sit in this experience for a long time to gate them? And then once you do get up to rank 20, like going back to 25 to 20 and doing that every month to not lose stars and like regress 4 ranks back seems like... I don't know if I want to do that. And like you have the same system, right? Rank 15, or sorry, anything up past rank 20 still is 5 stars. You still have the win streak that you can get, which is great, up until rank 5. And then it's just what it was before after rank 5. And it's burning people out, myself included. Eve's talked about it off air, on air. The ranked ladder system feels like everything they've done since they did the ladder rework has just been giant fat band-aids on a system that just needs to be scrapped and redone, to me.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're introducing these new ranks makes me really depressed, because like I feel like them adding this just means that they're just not going to change what's currently there, to the point that it's going to be a rework. It's just going to be this plus.
I at first I thought something similar to that. I'm like, oh no, 50 ranks. That's so much grinding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Depending on where you're at. But I mean, I think.
But
then
you
I remember
only
that,
do that once. So that's the nice part about this new stuff.
Right. There's no regression. I think the concept of regression is a real thing in the game that I'm not 100% sure I like or not. You know what I mean? I know that all Blizzard games do that. You know, at the beginning of the month, no matter what client you play on, you have a sense of regression. Therefore, it gives you incentive to play.
Even if that just means getting back to the rank that you were currently at, because in Overwatch I did my 10 placements, and I'm in the motion where every time I do my placements, I don't even care if I go 0-10, because it just don't matter. It's basically like play 10 games and get a huge crazy number of plus or minus 250 of your previous rank points where you ended.
Oh, for real?
Not even your rank. So like I ended at about 27 something, 2720-ish or 2740-ish last season, but my peak was at 2900 last season, and of all time I hit the highest rank last season. And then I did my placements and I think I went 5-5, so I went straight even, and I got up to like 2840. So I like went up about 110 120 ranks from where I ended the last season to start this season by going even.
Wow.
And it's just like, and then other people are reporting, hey, I lost 300 ranks, or I started 500 ranks before where I was, or I'm this, or I'm that. And it's like plus or minus 250 rank is kind of the mean. So you have about 500 rank range, which is basically a whole skill tier in Overwatch. So gold to silver, or silver to the bronze. And you can go anywhere in that range after your placements. It's just like, okay. And it's like, it's not necessarily a regression. At least Hearthstone's is like, if you're going to reset, it's going to reset you at a consistent level with the exact star count they told you that you had at the end. That's where you're going back. You're going back exactly 4 ranks from that. So at least that's consistent. But the problem is going back 4 ranks now is going back a lot further in some stretches for some players than it was prior. It's putting you
especially
at
if you go
a
rank to 10
multi-month
to 14 or something.
Yeah. And then sorry, I know I'm getting on a soapbox again, Grant, but it's like,
it's all good.
If you do well, and I go to like rank 5 or rank 6 and you get super close to your goal, and then you regress, and then you're like, ugh, I just have a really busy month and I can't play that much. And whether that
Yeah.
means you can only play 50 games that month, or that means you can only play 2, or you only want to play 2, whether that's willful, perceived, or just flat out actual, how much you play. You get punished for not playing the game a lot. And I don't like that. I really don't like that.
Yeah. I dislike that as well. At least in Overwatch, like if you're good, you know what I mean? You don't get punished for being good. You know what I mean? In Hearthstone, like you get punished because you didn't play enough. Even if you are great at it. You know what I mean? Like I get some weird like anxiety. Like if I have to like last 3 or 4 months, I have started the month at rank 6 because I would get up to rank 2 and whatever. And I start the month at rank 6 and I start getting in that mental state of, oh, okay, if I win 2 games, I can be rank 5 and just relax. But if I lose too much, then it's going to be a whole week of grinding at that nebulous area right around the floor where I'm playing some floor players that don't care, or I'm playing the tryhards that are just trying to get up to the floor. And then, so it's like a week of my life will be spent playing any free moment I can get to play Hearthstone just to get there, maybe. You know what I mean? Or days. It could be an hour. Like this month, first day of the week, I was like 6 and 5 stars. I'm like, I just have to win a game. I lost the first game of the season. Then I won 2, and I'm like, yes, I'm rank 5 in the first hour of that I started playing. I'm so relieved. It's not even happy. It's like, okay.
It's like hitting
So I don't have to
par
grind too
on
much.
golf. It's like, oh, thank goodness. Now I don't have to do this
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, and then I had the same feeling, and I hit rank 1 last week, and I thought, okay, rank 1, maybe I can hit legend this month. And then I got into a pocket where I didn't play good and played a bunch of quest rogue that just destroyed me. And I dropped down to rank 3 and some change. And now I've been up at like 2, rank 3, rank 2, rank 3, rank 2, rank 3, and just bouncing around. It's like, man, I don't like just hanging out here, but at least I can say, well, I don't have to grind to rank 5 next month. So then it's like, I don't know if I want to put in the time to grind legend, you know, because what good does it do me? I enjoy playing the game. I like playing new decks, but like grinding legend is, it feels like, why do I have, I know it's self-imposed, but like, is there
Yeah,
anything
I
we
was
can
about to
do to
say.
make it's self-imposed? I know I'm
Yeah.
I'm confessing here, but like, is there anything that we can or should do to the game to make it to where there's not that hard regression to where it's harder to meet your goals? Because I mean, the meta is so quote unquote balanced that nothing works great for a long period of time. You might work great for one day, like, man, I've hit the jackpot. This deck is good. I went 8-1. I tend to do that. I'll go 8-1 one day. I'll play it the next day, and I'll go like 0-4. You know what I mean? Or 0-8, and I'll be right back where I started. And it's like, man, so what gives?
It's also
Did I
this
just
whole
suddenly?
thing where it's like, I love that Blizzard has made this game to be a
Hmm.
one deck format in some way.
Hmm.
And actually, you have 3 one deck formats, whether you build it and play in an arena, or
Hmm.
you have a deck and you just play that one deck in ranked, or you play that one deck
Hmm.
in wild ranked, or you play
Yeah.
that whatever deck in casual. But the thing is, they have all of these game modes that are one deck formats. And then they're like, if you want to compete, you have to have this many decks and play that. And this has been a critique since the beginning, and it has not gotten a single point of issue. It hasn't gotten a single in-game function that you can play outside of playing with a friend or doing a tavern brawl or doing a fireside gathering where you can set this up manually and impose rules outside of the game. And again, this is what people are kind of circling back to, the whole in-game private tournament viewership, whatever label Blizzard and the community want to give it, tournament mode or whatever. This is why people are upset. If you want to compete, you need to be really good at playing tournaments. You need to be really good against specific decks and matchups and building a lineup. And then if you want to get good and make it to those events, you have to play one deck.
Yeah.
Or play in these tournaments. And it's like, that's great. That's great and all, but it's like, why don't you just put this in the game? If I want to play my
Right.
one deck format, then I'll go play that. And if I want to earn
Do you
points
think?
yeah. Anyways.
Do you
I don't
think
belabor it.
that the solution is Hearthstone Part 2, or like a new client, same game, essentially same function, same mechanics, but now it has just different coding to
I think that this is
facilitate that?
very easy solution, difficult coding because of, putting it into tablet, phone UI and PC UI. But
Well, I'll tell you what, Eternal made me appreciate Hearthstone's UI like so much because I can't read the cards. I can't read it. It's too small for my my aging eyes.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, I really appreciate why they spend so much time discussing that. But anyways,
Yeah,
well,
the,
you
the
want to
only
call it a
thing is,
night, brother?
yeah, we'll call it a night after we kind of promote our stuff here. But basically,
Yeah.
guys, we just want some multi-deck stuff. And we want it to be competitive so that it's a transition from understanding building a lineup. Good, I'm good at this. I can play against a bunch of people. I can get a certain position on the ladder, and then I can go into a transition directly into a tournament where those skills are mirrored. Not, I'm really good at playing warrior. My name's Fibonacci, and then I go into tournament and I can't play anything besides this, so I lose all my other stuff. Or I just lose. I can't play in this meta because warrior's bad.
Yep.
Something like that. So, anyways, just some thoughts. Blizzard, we love your games. The reason we have this show is so that we can, talk about it. And it's just not fun.
Bring the fun back. Make
And
Hearthstone
and fun
again.
is such a hard thing to like ask for. It's like, can we have fun back,
Qualify,
please?
quantify.
Yeah, please quantify this for me. But all we know is that what we have now is just not what we want. That's all I can tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Time to go to the lab and experiment. Try some
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
See what
So
happens.
Grant, let people know where they can find the show.
If you want to find us, everything that you could possibly want in terms of links and information, head on over to www.velenschosen.com. It'll take you to our past episodes. It'll give you links to our Discord, our Twitter, iTunes, you name it, YouTube, all that stuff's there. Merch, if you're so inclined. If you want to shoot us an iTunes review, that would be amazing. That stuff gets us up in the feed, and we like to read it out on the show. It's kind of nice to get that attaboy, that pat on the back, saying, "Hey, you're doing all right, kid. We like your show." And if you want to support us, you can head on over. Really support us. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can shoot us your Amazon Prime sub. Doesn't cost you anything. You can Velen's shows, Twitch TV, Twitch Prime, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what to do. There's a sub button. Second thing, you can go on to Patreon, and if you want to do it's like a tipping service, you can shoot us a couple bucks, cup of coffee, if you will. And that's at patreon.com/Velen's Chosen. Special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters. We really do appreciate you, whether it's $1 or $20 or $1 million, which I say some from time to time. $1 million, chump change for some people, I know. Anyways, but to those of you who have supported us with your time, your energy, our mods in our Discord and in our stream, thank you. And Rob, where can I guess you want me to tell people where to find me,
ahead.
and then we'll just hand it over. If you wish to find me on the interwebs, you can head on over to Twitter at WatchmanHS. If you want to friend me in game, it's Watchman #1140. And if you want to find Eve, Twitter Lore Master Eve. Master does not have the E between the T and the R. And if you want to friend her in game, it's Lore Master Eve, same spelling, #1974. Rob, where can people find you?
If you guys want to find me on the interwebs, I have the tag not Rob pretty much anywhere. Discord, and on Twitter and on Instagram. If you guys like Overwatch, you can find a little show called Omnic Lab, where we talk about strategy and the game of Overwatch. And if you like Dungeons and Dragons, this week we are uploading an episode of Concept Craft on conceptcraft.libsyn.com, where I actually had to DM a game this week, but it was not Dungeons and Dragons. It's something called Honey Heist, which is where a bunch of bears go in and steal honey, and it's a D6 based system only, and it's really weird, and it's about a couple hours long, and I'll be uploading that within the next 20 hours,
sounds
30
fun.
hours or something. Yeah, so I recorded the whole session and was able to kind of get a decent setup for the audio, and I think it won't be terrible, but it won't be up to snuff with like Velen's and Omnic Lab type style of editing. But this is mostly for our DM, who was taking a week off for personal holiday and personal reasons, and we really miss him. And so shout out to Cap. I know that he's had some personal stuff come up this week, and I know that it would mean the world to him to shout him out this week, and I really appreciate you. Just want you to know that you're my DM and my good friend, so we appreciate you and all of your New Zealand antics that we get every week.
Nice.
And also special thanks to Smiley Chris for staying up extremely late to play with us from Australia that evening. It was a lot of fun. And she went out with a bang in that episode. So I'm really excited how she decided to kind of peace out during the show. But again, thank you guys for listening to Velen's Chosen. I'm not going to say the wrong podcast this week. And please send your love to Eve. Shoot her a message in Discord. Ask her if she wants your 80 gold quests and save her some time in the Tavern Brawl. But we'll see you guys next week. Remember, not all who wander are lost. I'll see you guys later.
Later, people.
Thanks to you guys in the chat. You've been great. Special shout out to StarCraft 2 Forever, who gave us another 200 bits as he or she, I can't remember who. I'm really bad about community, but StarCraft, thank you for donating 300 bits during the show this week. This will show up on our YouTube feed. YouTubers, sub, share, like, favorite, whatever it is stupid platform is doing with people financially these days. We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah.